Welcome, everybody, to Mystical Awakenings, right here on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. And again, I am Deb DeRoos, and this is my wonderful wizard husband, RJ DeRoos. And we're so happy to be here tonight. We have some amazing news for you tonight, and we're going to introduce our beautiful guest. RJ will do that.
Well, hello, everybody. Our beautiful guest tonight is Mary Bassett. She's a channeler, a psychic medium, and also a hypnosis regressionist for ET experiencers. She works with MUFON doing regression work. She also works with PTSD experiencers, paranormal experiencers, as well as victims of crime to assist them with recall. She is dedicated to her spiritual work and helping others along their spiritual path. Welcome, Mary Bassett.
Yay. And what it
Hi,
doesn't
everyone.
say,
How are you guys?
She's a great friend. We're good, and we're so happy to have you here with us, Mary. So happy.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here.
We were excited to bring you on and, talk about your work a little bit, but we also have other news to announce. So, but I'd like to kind of start with, what is it that you do?
I do just a little bit of everything. I'm a channeler and psychic medium, so I've been doing that professionally for 10 years. So I go all over for events. I've seen you guys at a lot of those events. That's where we kind of met. My biggest thing right now is the being a regressionist, especially with ET experiencers. I do a lot of different type of regressions, but my favorite really is with the ET experiencers and working with MUFON and tapping into the actual experience, but also tapping into the subconscious and getting right down to what actually happened. And sometimes even a higher spiritual perspective and what the real truth is, because there's a lot more going on out there in the universe than people realize. And that's kind of my whole goal, is I want to tap into the universal secrets.
Nice.
Right. I love it. And that's why we mesh so well that we have started. Well, Mary was actually downloaded with some information and got a hold of me and said, this came to me. We have to do this. And so she's been working really hard on it, has made it pretty easy for the rest of us. But you've started a show, a podcast, but it's more of I don't even know how to explain it. Do you, Mary?
Yeah, it was, as downloads go, they come at like the weirdest times, right?
Yeah.
So
always.
I'm driving to work and I'm thinking about stuff, and all of a sudden I start getting this download about a show, and then you and RJ come to mind, and then Michael Carter, and then Bill Konkoleski, and about my regression work, because I've started writing a book, and that probably is like in the works for definitely, the next 6 months. But like ET and my guides were really showing me, why not put a show together that talks about my regressions with a panel of experts who actually know, they've had their own experiences. I've channeled ET often, but I don't know if you really call that as like an experience where you've had real contact or you've been abducted or taken, so to speak. So for me, my experiences are different. So I took the regressions and I thought, why not take clips and get an expert opinion on what their take is, especially for the people who agreed to let me use the regressions. Then they get to have a take versus just my opinion on what they experience, and not just by one person or two. They have now 5. So it not only gets the word out there about experiences, but it helps the experiencer themselves.
Right, right. And that's what I love about it. And our passion is to assist experiencers, to help them to realize that they're not crazy. Um, get through the sometimes trauma of having these experiences. And I think in your regression work, Mary, do you do mostly, like with MUFON people, people who have been taken?
Well, you see, I think it's different. I don't think all of them have been taken. I
Okay.
I have different regressions for different scenarios, and I always ask them exactly what they want to explore and how they want to explore it, so that they know that they're in control. That it's not me putting them under and they have no control whatsoever. They get to choose how they
Right.
get regressed and what they get to
Mhm.
explore and how they get to explore it. And some have been taken, and some have just had experiences where they've just something. And I've even regressed people who, while they were channeling different consciousness, it was a part of them. And that was fascinating because while it wasn't necessarily ET, it wasn't necessarily them either, but it was a higher level of consciousness. And that's just where my soul goes. I that's what I want to explore and actually get to the heart of the matter, because it's all one. It's all connected. It's all the same. It's just from a different angle and a different
Mhm.
source. So as many people as I can regress to get that information, I will. And it's always, no matter how many different people I regress, it's always the same basic answer, just in
Mm.
a different take or a different experience. So whether
Mhm.
they've been taken, or they've just had a sighting, or they've just had contact in general, they tell the same basic story, just in a different experience.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'd like our listeners to know that uh, Mary has got permission from these people to have the recording live as we do our show. So, I mean, when I say live, I'm just, it's not a live recording, but from you're doing it right then. But you have been given permission, and everything's on the up and the up, and it's pretty
Yep.
cool that they've done that. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So it might be a really good time to give a little preview. You have put together a little teaser for the show that will be airing on the 10th. And if Bill could bring that teaser up and play that, that would give people an idea of what we do.
This is the spark of humanity.
create life as far as physical life that the soul can come into and experience life in different ways. And I think that's what the universe wants. It wants to experience life in many, many ways through the physical self, through the physical world. And, that's why some beings may look like an insect, some beings may look like a reptile, some beings may look like a gray or us or a human, because you experience life in different ways with different bodies.
This is the spark of expansion. This is the voice of experiencers.
Well, I would say it certainly sounds like this is an amateur hour. They take very specific caution to control their situation by switching her off so that every piece on the field in their encounter is taken care of.
Just who are the way showers? Just who are extraterrestrials?
Is the soul comes from one big soul. It's one big soul. So, the law of one, which many of the other species, ETs, whatever you want to call it, all of, that's what they adhere to is the law of one, that we're all created from one. Mary calls it God source. I call it collective consciousness.
It's time to release our patterns and trust in universal evolution.
And they showed me a clone of myself. And what I was thinking of reading other literature of contactees, that sometimes they may make clones because if there's a catastrophe, if there is a planet-wide emergency or catastrophe, they have me.
Let's find out with the voices of contact.
They just make people. Where will they get souls to put into people? That's a good question. Can you ask them, when they make people, how do they find the souls to put into the people? He says they never run out of them. So they just create souls? No, the souls just come. Where do they come from? One big soul. Like from God's source? Hmm.
So
Yeah, we're very excited about this upcoming show on the 10th and many more after that to review these regressions and, comment on them and see where we're at on those.
Yeah. Mary had a little bit of a computer issue and should be back anytime. We're a little concerned, but she will be here. But we would love to hear everybody's take on and there's Bill. She is working on it, Bill. Thank you.
There was a question that came in from chat.
Okay.
Can she do regression through Zoom or another platform, or does it have to be in person? Do you know?
I have done regression via Zoom, so I assume she could. It's not my favorite way to do it, but it can be done.
Are we going to wait till the end of the show teaser for the big news, or
for the big news?
Well, it's really the news is that the news is really that we're going to continue the show, and it's going to be appearing on. I don't think I could say it right now. Hopefully, it's going to be appearing on
different places,
and even here.
And we're hoping for KGRA as well.
Yeah. So. But yeah, we're hoping we can expand on this, and it takes off pretty good because we've got some pretty good people on the panel. We've got Bill Konkolinski. He's the director of MUFON in Michigan for 23 years. We've got Reverend Michael Carter, and you know him, but a good friend of ours, and an ancient alien regular on there, and he's so cool. He's just just a very knowledgeable man, and he's an experiencer, and us too, who put on the Michigan UFO Contact Convention, and we've had experiences too. And mine started when I was a kid, and it had been happening all my life. And Deb is finding out that it's been happening to her quite often throughout her life. So.
Welcome back, Mary.
Yeah, welcome back. Hopefully she'll be at this year's Michigan UFO.
Mary will be there.
Yeah,
she is.
You will be there.
I'm coming. There's no question. Anyway,
everybody listening needs to get your tickets and be there, because I'll tell you what, I'm so excited about this year that I can't even stand it.
Are the tickets available now? Is it up on the site?
They are.
What's the website?
If you go to miufocon.com, that's the website. Otherwise, you can go to Michigan UFO Contact on Facebook, and we have an event page, and
the VIP tickets are going fast, so they're limited. So
they sell out fast.
We'll talk off air. Anyway, Have a great rest of the show.
Thank you. Welcome back, Mary. Did you even get to see? Not that you haven't seen the teaser, but
yeah,
it's phenomenal. Yeah,
it turned out better than I thought.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. I'm excited to continue this and get this ball rolling. So
now somebody asked Bill in chat if you could do regression via Zoom.
I do them via Zoom. I do try to avoid it, only because, like for me, if you're going through an experience with an experiencer and it's really traumatic, how are you going to reach to that computer to assist them? I have done them through Zoom, like, I've done them with somebody who's in Canada, and obviously they're not going to travel all the way to me. And so the agreement with that is they have to have someone, and then I have to have their phone number, so that if something happens, I'm able to call that person and say, okay, bring them back out. I will do them, but only if it has.
Oh dear, she's having computer issues again. And Mary is frozen. Let's hope it doesn't stay. But that's kind of my take on it as well. I don't like to do any regression work via Zoom or online, but I will with the right circumstances, somebody there to help them out, because as Mary said, you can't get through that computer to help them. So are you back with us, Mary? Okay, now we have no sound. Uh-oh.
A little technical difficulties tonight, but
darn it.
I know. Jeez.
There we go. There we go.
We haven't had
you're
this
with
before.
Well, I've been doing shows for, quite a few years, over 10 years. And it seems like anytime there's a lot of ET discussion, things like this happen. We have, we've had whole shows totally disappear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that a lot of your regression work is people here you're from Michigan, right? So is it people that are
Yes. Yeah.
local?
So far, it's been through Michigan.
Okay. And it's pretty amazing to find out how many people have actually had these experiences just around you and in Michigan. I just wonder, if you go to every state, that this is going on everywhere around the world.
Yeah, I think it really is. Mary's really struggling with the internet right now. I want to say hi to so many beautiful people that are in the chat tonight. So good to have you all here. And I also want to say, if there are people out there who are interested in having a regression done and having it recorded, well, I think Mary records all of them. But if you're interested in allowing her to use that recording for these shows, your name is never said. We do protect your privacy, but it would be helpful to you because you get more answers, and to everybody out there who is trying to learn what is really going on, that deeper truth. Are you with us, Mary? Okay, so she's having big delays. Yeah. Oh, darn. Okay.
She's in the Matrix.
Yeah. Yeah. She's kind of in and out here.
I'm trying.
I know. It's crazy how this happens, but it does. It does. We've had it several times. But if you can tell people at some point, Mary, how to contact you, I can tell you that if you contact Michigan MUFON, you can get her information. She is also Mary Bassett on Facebook and answers, almost any messages that she gets that are appropriate. And I don't know if there's any, I don't know if she puts out her phone number or anything like that, but we'll find out if she's able to come back. Oh, poor Mary. You're always frozen. That happens to all of us. You kind of freeze with the funniest faces. So the name of that news show is Voices of Contact. It will be airing on the 10th.
8 o'clock or 7 o'clock?
Yeah, you would ask me that. I've been so stinking busy that I don't even know my name anymore.
Where can they find it?
they can find it. Well, it's listed on Facebook under me. I think you've got it. Mary Bassett has it on her page. There's an event page that says Premier. There she is. Premier Voices of Contact. So we're just filling people in on how to find the show.
Yeah, I created the event, and then hopefully you'll be able to stream it live on your page, and so people can just tune in on next Friday, which I do believe is the 12th, and no, the 10th. I'm sorry,
10th, yes,
the 10th,
yeah.
Friday the 10th at 8:00, and they can tune in there to your page and be able to watch it there, and we'll all be there to comment.
Yes.
I mean,
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, way better, way better. And
Right.
you're not freezing. It's great.
I know.
I'm gonna have to.
It's the craziest thing. Like my regular hotspot's always the best, and so I turned on my phone. It's like whatever the universe is trying to tell me. It's been that kind of day.
Yeah, on
has.
Friday
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to miss Ancient Aliens. That's just all there is to it. To watch
I
our
know.
show.
What time is the Ancient Aliens one?
Oh, it's on all day.
What time is our show premiering? Because
8:00.
is it 8:00?
8:00. Yep.
Okay. And that's Eastern time for anybody that wants to know.
Yeah.
And I did put out there, Mary, that if anybody wanted to contact you about having a regression done and they were willing to have it aired like that, that would be wonderful. You know, I see the possibility of helping so many people by doing that. The person who's being regressed, of course, is getting more answers that way, or at least thoughts, and then can contact us afterwards. And the listeners, you know, everybody wants to know what comes out of these regressions and what are people seeing?
Well, yeah. Well, because there's so much more than even if you have an experience that you think you remember, you don't remember all of it. So when you tap in and you really start going through that experience, you start bringing up different things where you're like, oh, I don't remember that happening. And maybe, just maybe, not always, but I'm going to say like 90% of the time, you're going to discover that what you had fear of wasn't exactly what you should have had fear of. There's a different explanation of what actually happened. Through my experiences doing the regressions, I've had a lot of people who have, they've remembered on their conscious level having experiments done on them. But when they were regressed, they realized that they weren't experiments. And they were taken, to a different dimension, to a spacecraft, and they're actually having healing done work on them. But they didn't understand that because it's fear-based. We're, that 3D, 4D level, that's all fear. We're not vibrating at that love level. They don't understand that. The consciousness as a collective whole right now doesn't understand that all the way. And so that's where the regressions really can be life-altering, because you realize the different take on what it actually was. There's so much more.
Mary, can I ask you a question? I'm really curious. In your regressions, have you found most of them to be all the same kind of beings that they're dealing with, or there are different ones? And if there are different ones, who are they? Do you know?
Yeah, see, there have been different ones. And sometimes they channel differently. I had one regression where the girl, she's like, I just see blackness. I don't see nothing at all. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what am I going to do with this? She's seeing nothing. And then all of a sudden I started channeling ET, and that was an actual gray. And he said, show her the light. Take the light through her. And as soon as I started taking the light through her chakras, boom, she opened up, and we went through a different level. I'm like, okay, that was weird. Y'all, we all have our own experiences too. And then I have had experience. I won't get into this one too much. He has given me permission to use some of his regression, but we'll save it. But where he had an attachment from ET that were, I do believe, Archon, so negative ET work, and we removed those from his energy. So that's another level of species, and Pleiadians, and all sorts of different spiritual energies. Really, it's kind of hard to tell because they all come in different levels and they all come in different light. And I channeled another one that was I would say larger than Pleiadian, because Pleiadians are usually, white in color and taller, but he was taller and he was more of a, I would say, like a father type. And he was providing the message to this person through the regression that I know you feel like you've been used, but you haven't. You're my son. I've created you. You belong to me. You're part of me. And know that there's a bigger purpose to what you're just seeing right now. And we're going to show you. So have I tapped into all the species? Oh my gosh, no. They say there's at least 25 different species, right? There's no way that I've tapped into all of those. So I think there's, more often than not, you're getting species that really do want to connect, because it's almost like that universal law, that collective consciousness law, like that higher purpose. You agree to live in peace. And I feel like that's their purpose with us, is to get us to agree to live in peace so that we can join that, the galactic community, that collective whole, not just this one, but the higher above. Because right now, if they were to expose themselves to us, we just want to fight and we would destroy the universe. So,
yeah. Well, supposedly,
I know, but
yeah, supposedly there's all kinds of, different kinds of Pleiadians, and there's all kinds of different kinds of grays, and humanoid that people look just like us. Yeah, like you said, different heights, a lot taller. And that could be due to the fact that, their atmosphere, their gravity is not like ours. So they tend to be taller. The gravity was different on this planet a long time ago, and we had tall dinosaurs, we had tall trees, because things could grow a little easier. They weren't being pressed down. There's a lot of scientific things you could figure out on that. But but yeah, you're right. I mean, they're supposed to be taller, and I had heard someone channeling the Tigetans from the Pleiades, and they said that on their atmosphere, like we have a lot of hydrogen and some oxygen, they have more oxygen and less hydrogen, so they can run miles without getting tired because they have more oxygen in their system. So that made sense.
Yeah, and if you think about all the different species that we have on our planet alone, I mean, there's thousands. There has to be, when we say 25, I think there's probably, with so many different planets, and there's probably thousands, and many we will never meet.
That's funny, because that's what I was just getting ready to talk about. Like, I've done research where they talk about the seeding of the planet by ET, and like all the different races you get from all the different countries are literally from a different species. It's not the color of their skin. We're all one. It's just a different species seeded that part of the planet. So great minds think alike, because that's exactly what I was thinking while you were saying it. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also heard that, this is kind of a unique I'll say experiment, this planet, because we do have so many different types of ET influences here. But if this works, they can take it somewhere else and make that work too. Where, like, if you go to the Pleiades, they're all Pleiadians. But here we have a mixture of all kinds of, like, maybe 22, 25 different species that have involved making our physical world here.
Human species.
Yeah. So,
and then if you look into the other ones.
Yeah. And if this works, then they can take it somewhere else and make it work too. But we've had a rough go. I'm not going to lie to you.
That's exactly it. I think Earth has done this routine over and over again.
Hmm.
I feel especially with all the research I've done, like the city of Atlantis, that was a real thing. And that was one of the other times around where eventually they just started cloning animals and humans and they ended it and they were done. Like that experiment was over. They're getting too far. They were going to destroy themselves. So boom, we're done, right? We're going to start all over. So unfortunately, if we don't figure it out this time, we're going to start all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a good chance we could make it this time if we just, tweak a few things. But yeah, if it doesn't work, they start over again for sure. The soul's immortal. Your soul energy, your consciousness. But the whole physical thing, we've had many civilizations on this planet that reached a high peak of technology and spirituality, and for some reason it didn't work. But and we're hoping this is the one, so that we can make it work.
Yeah, and the beauty is many people are opening up and waking up. We've even seen a big difference in this area. Well, some difference in this area, but we get people that come to the event, the Michigan UFO Contact, from all over the United States. But it is opening minds. It is helping people become aware that there really is more going on than what we thought. And it is time to learn to play well with others. And we don't do that very well, but we're learning. So I think there's hope.
I do too. I think that's really why, like the whole point of the regressions and doing the show like we're going to do is to put the awareness out there, because there's a lot more believers out there than people actually want to admit. So the more they
Right.
see other people have had these experiences, they're going to be like, oh, okay, wait a minute, I'm going to share now. And the more you do that, the more the vibration raises of the planet. And that's the point, right? You have to be able to
Right.
fight the darkness with the light. You can't have one without the other, but the light's going to overtake the dark. And so the higher that vibration, the more chance we have to succeed. And we will. It's just we need more of this kind of stuff, bringing awareness.
Right. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And one thing I wanted to ask too is, have you regressed people to, I might have even already asked this, who feel they had not had contact? They thought they had an experience, did not realize they had contact until they were regressed, and then realized that contact.
Well, yeah, the viewers want to check out the show next Friday. That's exactly what we had with that. She has a lot of different experiences, and we're going to do more in February, more regressions. But with that one, she just wanted to talk about a time she saw a spacecraft. And like literally my favorite part was that she's like, there's a door. I never knew there was a door. And we're talking about an experience she's held on to for, gosh, I can't do math. Maybe at least 60 years.
Mhm.
She held on to that experience. So 60 years, she didn't realize there was a door. And as the farther we went into that regression, she realized there was a door and that she had an experience with an ET species that she had met before. She had seen them several times. And that surprise. So, and I think that's what's bringing her back is she's ready at a point where she doesn't really care who knows. She just wants to know the answers. And so she's ready to explore the, 6 other incidences that she's had and figure out what actually happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's interesting because we've had Candace on the show a few times, who is an experiencer and also a friend. She never realized that she had contact, reported an experience, and did a regression. And boy, I mean, she's had contact all her life. So, I find that really interesting. I know for myself, when I had my experience, I didn't have any memory of contact. That came later. So I just wondered how many people are there a ton of people out there who have no idea that they've really had that kind of contact?
And I'm sure there are, just like for me, I think I've been thinking about that the last couple of weeks, where I think I've channeled ET, but was I really channeling, or was I actually having contact? Because my first experience, I found myself on a ship, and I can describe it. It was white with black windows with chairs lining the walls, and they literally told me this is where all of the species meet at the Galactic Center. And I remember talking to her, and she told me her name, and she gave me the timeline right before COVID hit, all the way up to 2029. And then I channeled. We won't get into that right now, but then I channeled even more after I started meditating after that experience, because it felt for me like more like a vision. But maybe it was more of a contact than actual vision. I'm just the psychic medium, so that's where I go with it, with that experience.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. So what you're doing is more like you are purposely, you're channeling them. So you're making that contact.
Yeah.
And asking them to communicate with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit different than, somebody who didn't even realize they had contact.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's like the perfect thing with the regressions, is that ability to be able to do that. So when we're going through the regression, I think it goes a little bit deeper and we pull a little bit more out, only because of that capability of being able to channel and to bring it through. Because it's almost like they assist me if there's a block, or they assist me in going into that direction of a regression if this direction is not working. Because there's blocks. You always get those people who don't see anything, and I'm like, okay, so what am I going to do? And I always get shown how to work my way through it, to break through. And if we don't completely break through, because you don't always, because some people aren't ready, you come back and we do it again.
Right.
Yeah, oddly enough, I have never been regressed in all my experiences, but I probably should be. I remember between the ages of 8 and 10, I grew up in the heart of Flint, Michigan, in the city. And for some reason, I was out at night walking down the street, a couple houses down from where I was. And in the main intersection at the end of the road, I saw UFO land. And I kind of ran up on a porch and hid there watching it, but I don't remember anything after that. So I'm curious as to what really happened, And I used to, when I was younger, there was many shadow people in my room all the time, and I'd have to say, "Mom, Dad, they're here," and okay, come on in, But yeah, so I mean, I spent many nights with my parents, and I felt safe, but I would hide under the covers, and I would feel them on my bed, So yeah, there was a lot of experiences when I was a young lad that I would be curious to see what happened if I could remember some of this stuff. But I saw a UFO land right in the intersection.
I happen to know a few good reasons.
Regressionists. I should get that
That's like you.
We can team up on you.
There you go.
And he regresses quite easily. We've done past life, so he doesn't have any trouble seeing.
Yes, you like the easy ones. You get a lot more out of it. You get a lot more for me, because like I want the real answers. Like I want the deep answers. So I love regressing the ones who go really deep, because you get them deep enough, you're going to get some real, actually higher spiritual perspective answers. And that's my heart and soul. It really is. Yeah.
I, seeing last year at the Michigan UFO Contact, it was great because you regressed Bill Konklowski in front of the whole audience. And I was so impressed with the way you work. It was amazing, but also how deep he was able to go, knowing he's there in front of all these people. Wow. That was mind
I
blowing.
know. He always goes so deep. That's why I had a bottle of water ready for him, because I knew he was going to need it as
Yeah.
soon as I felt so bad for him all at the same time, because he did. And he told me, he's like, yeah, I went and took a nap for a while and now it's fine. And he came a couple weeks ago for another regression. He said he did the same thing. He went home and he slept for like 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah,
So it's
because he
amazing
goes
how
so
deep he goes,
deep.
but yeah, and for him, he doesn't realize he really taps into a lot of higher spiritual concepts. He'll get
He
there.
does.
We'll work on him. We'll get
Yeah,
him there.
yeah.
But he does. He taps into a lot of higher spiritual concepts.
Mhm. He's pretty amazing, and he's had so many experiences that, I mean, you could almost regress him often, probably for the rest of his life, and continue
Mhm.
getting new information.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yep.
So some of the other regression work that you do, I mean, I know we all love talking, the ET stuff, but you do other things as well. The PTSD, I thought that was pretty interesting, because that's not something that I've heard a lot about. I mean, as far as regression work goes.
Well, in a way, it's sort of like an ET experience, but you're going to tap into a traumatic experience for that person. So whether it's like somebody a victim of a crime, a victim of rape, or maybe horrible childhood experiences. So sort of like the ET experience, you're going to take them back to that date and time of that experience and walk them through it. And the favorite part of that regression work for me, even with doing the ET work, because if people are spiritual enough or they're willing to, when we tap into the subconscious, for one, you get deeper answers of that, the conscious mind's remembrance of the experience, but you can also do some deep cellular healing. Like you can really get into the chakras and the healing and cord cutting and releasing all that energy that's connected to that experience so people can move on. It's sort of like the past life regression. I had one woman who severe back pain, and she's like, I can't explain the back pain. I've never done anything to my back to experience this kind of pain. She goes, but a lot of days, I can't get out of bed, and I'm on disability. And so we did a past life regression, and literally in that past life, she had fallen off a ladder and broke her back, and that's how she passed away. And so we did a lot of cord cutting with that past life to remove that pain. And the last time I talked to her, she was going to the YMCA. She was working out. She still had some back pain, but she was actually able to function. Wow. So it's sort of like those things, that deep healing, because, we're all healers. So it just depends on which way you want to do it. Just like the paranormal experiences, there's some people, like, I love paranormal experiences. I think they're great. Not everybody does.
Right.
I grew up with it, so some of it scared me. After a while, I got used to it. But there's some very traumatic experiences for people who have dealt with that. So why not regress, tap into that paranormal experience, and actually get the answer? Maybe it really wasn't a paranormal experience. Or maybe it was just the grandfather that had passed over that was trying to get a hold of the kid, right? So it's all about finding the actual real answers. And just like crime victims. So something happens to you, or you witnessed a crime, but you can't remember it. So why not get regressed to see if you can remember as a witness what actually happened? Maybe you can't use that in a court of law, yes, but maybe you can give that information to a detective or somebody else and open a case. So there's so many different levels you can take it. So it doesn't really have, it's just an experience. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be labeled anything. Just take it back to that experience.
Right.
Yeah, it reminds me when I was on the same block where I was living, where I saw the UFO. My best friend lived 3 houses east of me. And the rule is when it gets dark, you got to come home, right? So I was walking down the sidewalk to the main sidewalk, and I looked across the street, and there was a black wolf with red eyes, right in the middle of the city. And I took a step, it took a step. I took 2 steps, it took 2 steps. Scared the living daylights out of me. And I ran all the way home. And it was running too. So I ran into the house and my mother said, "You okay?" "Oh, yeah, I'm fine." I didn't tell anybody, but that was a weird paranormal experience. I can tell you that.
You might have to regress you.
Yeah, it sounds like your spirit guides are trying to make you run home.
Yeah, yeah, it was just a black wolf with red eyes and right in the city. And I said, "What is that doing there?"
Yeah. I want to address Lynn's comment here. The healing would be amazing for PTSD, but it scares me to go back to that time of my life. And I totally get that, Lynn. It's scary for all of us, but the beauty of regression is you're reliving something that's already happened, number one. So it can't harm you. And it is healing. So if you go into it with the thought that, okay, I'm finally going to heal this. I'm finally going to let this go. Your whole mindset can change, and it's worth doing. It really is.
Well, I mean, you guys always say you're in a safe place. It's okay, and you always make sure that the person who is going through it is safe, and letting them know that. So that helps.
Yeah. And I think it's really important for people to understand that this is something that we've already survived. We've already survived it.
That's true. And too, to remember, like when you're doing a regression, because a lot of people fear regression because they don't think they're in control. And
Right.
you're in control the whole time. And so it's like you're there, but you're not there. It's almost like you step out of your own way, allow yourself to safely relive that experience without as much emotion that's attached to it. So
Right.
it's like a safe way of releasing it and letting it go and being done with it for good.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And, my heart goes out to anybody who, I think we've talked in the past, Mary. I've always been, terrified of hypnosis. Now I've been a regressionist for 30 some years. But would I allow anyone to hypnotize me? Oh, no, because somebody can take control and make me, bark and do all kinds of things.
Well, they say doctors are the worst patients, right?
So it is important for everybody to realize when you do regression work, when you're with Mary lets you know you are in control. She's helping you. She's guiding you, but you are tapping into that collective consciousness, the consciousness of something that has already happened, and you are safe. So yeah, just go for it. Go for it. So what's the best way, Mary, for people to contact you? When you were either frozen or gone, I was trying to fill people in on that, but
the best way actually is through email. I found that a lot of people find it easier just to send me an email, which is millergrls at hotmails.com. So Miller Girls, but without the I, at hotmail.com. And they can find me on Facebook. They can find me through you, Mary Bassett. But typically people contact me, especially through MUFON, through the email.
Okay. Thank you.
I think I talked to you about this. My mother's maiden name was Bassett, with the same spelling with a C. Well, what is your heritage?
Well, the Bassett is my husband's last name.
Okay.
But English.
It's
so
English, okay.
Yeah, they've done their lineage, and like they serve the Queen, the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth. And I think I'm trying to remember what their family crest. I think it was God and King, or it was like, I think it was in God and King, protector of people in King.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
And to be honest, like it's weird, but like his family, they moved to Salem, and that's how they came to America. And his family name actually married John Proctor's into John Proctor's family name, which was my family lineage.
Oh, okay.
So must be a past life thing.
So
I don't
related,
know.
you
That's a
related
whole
it all the way
different
back.
podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, might have to do some past life regression with you too.
I know.
So, I always have people ask me if they're going to look into getting a regression done, how long does it normally take? Do they plan a whole day? Do they plan a few hours? What do you normally tell people?
At least 4 hours.
Okay.
I always send out, it's not a long form, but just basic information about anxiety that you've had, health issues that you want to address, issues from your childhood that you want to address, what you want to ask the subconscious. And I usually like to take at least an hour in the interview to get to know the person, but to get them to relax. Because if you're gonna lay down in regression with somebody you've talked to for 20 minutes, you are not going to relax, and it's not going to do you any good anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually take at least an hour, sometimes more, because then I get to be a chatty Cathy, especially if I get to talk about myself. But so like an hour, 2 hours for the interview, and then the regression always takes at least an hour. So if someone goes really deep, it could take up to 2 hours. I will not go over 2 hours. 2 hours is too long for a person and their body to just lay in one spot like that. But typically, average is 4 hours.
Okay. So I think, you've done really great at letting people know what to expect. And I know that there's many people out there listening and saying, I want to do this. I want to do this. So be prepared, Mary. They're going to be
I look forward to it. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first people that we saw when we drove up to the Michigan Paracon?
This year?
Yeah, last year.
Mary?
It was Mary.
Yeah.
I was so excited.
Made me so happy. So we are like out of time. We're down to 1 minute to go. So, I just really want to say thank you, Mary, for doing all this. I know that you've had to struggle with your computer and internet and everything, but I really appreciate you being on and giving all of this information.
Don't forget to watch Voices of Contact, February 10th at 8:00.
Yes. Find it on one of our Facebooks.
Yep.
It'll also be on YouTube at some point, Mystical Awakenings podcast. We'll let everybody know where it's going to be, but it's going to be all over the place. So we are out of time. Next week, tune in. We have Preston Dennett coming, and we're super excited to see him too. Love you, Mary. Thank you.
Love you.
Everybody
Thank
have
you.
a wonderful week. And until we meet again, may all of your awakenings be mystical. Good night, everyone.